Hey guys, and welcome back. And as you notice, there's a C7 Corvette behind me, and no, I did not buy it. As much as I would love to have this car, it is a friend of mine who needed to do an oil change. And yes, this is a Grand Sport, but we need to do a Supercharger oil change as well. One of those things that not many people actually show on the internet how to do, so I thought this would be a good time to tackle just that. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, John Engel here, and I've got some great news. Today we're going to fix that by installing a brand new double din. So today we're going to do an oil change and replace those.
Okay, so behind me is a 2017 Grand Sport C7 Corvette. I am absolutely in love with this car. It's basically the Z06 without a supercharger. Now, this one has a supercharger, and it's the same supercharger from A&A kit, but it's the same as a Vortech. So either one of those, this will show you how to change the oil on one. And obviously, you've got so many spinning parts, you want to make sure they stay lubricated. So today we're going to go over how to do an oil change on the C7, and then how to do an oil change on the supercharger itself. But before we get started, let me show you what we'll be using. So Brandon was nice enough to buy everything that we're going to need. We've got 10W40 from Amsoil, and then we have the supercharger oil for the A&A kit, which is the same as the Vortech kit made by Vortech. So we're going to put this in, and then we've got the filter so that we can get this oil change started. Now, the neat thing about the C7 with the Grand Sport and with the Z06 and Z01 is that these are dry sump systems, so it's a little different than a standard oil change, but for the most part, not too bad. Next thing that we can do, get this baby in the air. So before we lift it, we're going to actually take off the bottom screw, which is the dipstick, and it's also the way that we will fill the supercharger back up, but that will allow that to drain. We talked about taking the oil cap off for the dry sump system, but we know that these dump oil out like crazy, and we think that by leaving it on, we'll be able to control the flow a little better. So now that we've got this ready, we can shut the hood, and we will lift her up. So one of the nice things about working on a 2017 is how clean and nice everything. You can see that he's got the headers already put on there, and he's got the off-road X pipe on here as well. Down here you can actually see what we will be working on. So to do the oil change, we're going to take this filter off. We have to drain most of the fluid from here, and then the rest of the fluid comes out there. For the supercharger, the nice thing is they have a adjustable line, meaning that you can kind of put this wherever you want, and then we just undo this one bolt right here, and it will let all the fluid out. So it really is a pretty simple process under here. The only thing that we have to do now, get to it and get a little dirty.
Yes, so a 9/16 goes on the bolt, and a half goes on the
nut.
The nut.
So we started with the first one, going to drain that, then we will move to the second, and then to the oil filter. So on the drain plug, we want to make sure that there's no large metal objects on here that are out of the norm. But the other thing is that these seals on the inside are prone to ripping, cracking, or causing separation, which could cause a small oil leak. So just make sure that you inspect that. And if you are curious or just wondering what you should do, you can always buy a replacement one of these, and they're not too expensive. So keep that in mind, one of the things that you really want to make sure that you look for on this.
So on these, factory recommends 18 foot-pounds per bolt. Now, I can just tell you that's a nice tightness. Looking underneath it, you can see that's where your oil filter goes, and you just want to make sure that the old gasket doesn't ever stay on there. I had a friend do it the other day on one of his trucks. Couldn't figure out where all the oil was coming from. That'll do it every time. So just make sure. We'll go ahead and clean that up. We'll get the new oil filter on there, and then we'll go topside. Now that we're on the top side, the first thing that we're going to do is to make sure that we remove the dipstick completely. The kit comes with 5 ounces of fluid, so you fill it with 5 ounces, but you have to remember there's residual in there and everything, and we will be able to check it with the dipstick, so that's kind of nice. Comes with an easy pour little knob or little filler tube on the top, and all you do is stick it in the hole and squeeze. And just like that, you've completed a supercharger oil change. We'll put the dipstick back into it.
make sure that it's topped off correctly. Now remember, when you put the dipstick in, you have to go all the way to the tight position and then all the way back out to read the proper amount of fluid in it. Don't just stick it in and pull it out.
Critical error.
Now we get to remove the cap that the oil goes into. We're going to start by filling it with 9 quarts of 10W40, and this is the Amsoil oil. We were told that this is the best for it. Now you can put in whatever you would like. And don't forget that I'll leave in the description below a link to everything that we used, from oils to the supercharger oil to bolts to oil pan plugs to the oil filter, so that anything you need to complete this project you'll have. So is this oil actually made for a supercharged system?
Boosted. It's turbo
or supercharged, yeah.
Supposedly.
All right, guys, GM recommends that we get the engine up to 170 degrees for your oil temp. We're at 167 right now. Then you turn it off, wait 5 minutes, and then check. So hopefully everything is going to go good, and then we will show you how to do the oil reset so that everything is ready for you to go.
So we're going through the onboard selection up to the information center. Press OK. Home life, and you're going to press to the right. Click reset. Are you sure? Yes. And now your oil will reset to 100%.
Well, the Corvette is off of the lift and the Jaguar is back on it, which means the oil change is done. That was the first time that I got to do an A&A Supercharger oil change. And remember, if you need any of the stuff that we used in this video, click in the description, everything's linked there. Hopefully you liked and enjoyed the video, and maybe even learned something. It's always fun to be able to check this out, and I have to say GM knocked it out of the park on an easy oil change. Anyway, like, subscribe, we'll catch you next time.